Hi, I'm Megan Jarvie. I'm head of Coram Family and Childcare, and I'm here today to talk to you about the very complicated world of childcare and the help that you can get with paying for childcare. I will say this right at the beginning, there are a number of different schemes out there. It's not an altogether simple system. So just bear with me and hopefully you'll get all the information that you need by the end of the presentation. So I thought the easiest way into this is to think about what age your child is, because then you can very easily know which bits to ignore for now, because everyone knows how old their child is. So if your child's 2 is where I'm going to start, this is one of the things that they can get. So they might be able to get 15 hours of funded childcare per week during term time. This is funded by the government and it's normally with nurseries or childminders. And you're eligible to get this if you claim certain benefits. So those are benefits that are related to your income. So if you're not working or working on a lower income, you might be eligible for it. Your child has a disability, or if your child has been looked after by the local authority. So being in care is how we normally talk about that. This is normally offered 3 hours a week, 5 days a week during term. So it's like a school day, but just a half school day, recognising that that's about right for a little one, a 2-year-old. But some nurseries might offer a bit more flexibility, might allow you to take it over 2 longer days a week or even three days. But most of the time, it's 5 days a week, 3 hours. Once your child turns 3, all 3 and 4-year-olds get 15 hours of funded childcare per week during term time, just like what I've described for 2-year-olds. All 3 and 4-year-olds get that. You don't need to have any special eligibility for it. You may be able to get 30 hours of funded childcare, so an additional 15 hours on top of what everyone gets. And that's targeted at working parents. So that's for you and your partner, if you have one, are both working. And at least the equivalent of 16 hours at the minimum wage and don't earn over £100,000 a year. So that's quite a technical one, but it's basically that's about working parents. So if you're working, if you and your partner, if you have one, are working, you might be able to get 30 hours of childcare once your child is 3. These offers start in the term after your child turns 3, or for your 2-year-olds, it's the term after they turn 2. And there's normally with 3 and 4-year-olds, there might be a bit more flexibility in how you can access that 30 hours. It is during term time, so it might be like a school day, so kind of 9 to 3, 5 days a week. But some nurseries and childminders will offer it spread out through the full year. So rather than getting 30 hours a week just during term time, you might get more like 22 hours a week right throughout the year. And you might be able to do that over 2, 3, 4 days, but it's different for every different provider. What I'd say about this is it's worth talking, if you're interested in getting this one, it's worth talking to a couple of different childcare providers, a couple of different nurseries and childminders to find out about how different places offer it, because it does vary a lot, so that you can find something that works for you and your families. It's also worth saying that with the 30 hours, some families might not be eligible of that because of their immigration status. So if you don't have recourse to public funds, then you're not able to get the 30 hours at the moment. So those are the funded childcare offers, the free childcare. There's also some financial support if you're already paying for childcare. So that's what I'm going to go through now. So this will be, if you're paying for childcare, either when your child's under 2 or over 4, or if you need more childcare than you get through the funded offers. So tax-free childcare is for if your child is under 12 or under 17 if they have special educational needs or disabilities. This works for where the government will pay £2 for every £8 that you're spending on childcare. You set up a government account and you put money into that. Government then top it up with those extra £2 for every £8, and then from that account you pay a childcare provider. In order to be eligible for this, you and your partner, if you have one, must be working the same as for the 30 hours that I just talked through. So you must earn at least the equivalent of 16 hours a week at minimum wage, and you must earn less than £100,000 a year. Now, this one you can claim if you're self-employed as well. That's a change to the system, so you are able to get that one if you're self. The other main type of support that you can get if you're paying for childcare is the childcare element of universal credit. So universal credit, we probably know about already that it's support for people on middle and low incomes, and it's got a range of different parts to it. So there's the income support, housing support, and one element of it is childcare support. This is probably the most generous support that's available. It pays up to 85% of childcare costs, up to certain limits. Eligibility is based on a range of factors. So it looks at your individual family circumstances. It looks at how much you're earning from work, how much you're spending on housing, on childcare, and then it works out how much support you get. It's worth saying that although it pays up to 85% of childcare costs, not very many families will be able to get that full support. So it might be that you get half your childcare costs paid, 3/4 of your childcare costs paid, or somewhere in between the two, something like that. So it's a very variable amount. Basically, you tap your numbers into a big calculator and then it spits out what you're entitled to. And none of us need to understand exactly what goes on behind that, but there is support there through universal credit. If you think you might be eligible for it, it's best to check with your Job Centre Plus for that, or there are some online calculators that you can use. And it really is worth checking for that. Like I say, it's some of the most generous support out there for paying for childcare, and you can be eligible up to reasonably high up the income scale. So do have a check to see whether that one might work for you. There's some other types of support available as well that I'm not going to go into too much detail on because I think the system is quite confusing enough without going into details of all the other bits. But those four are the main support offers that are out there. There is also childcare vouchers, which they were mainly phased out and replaced by tax-free childcare. They came through your employers and they paid 20% of your childcare costs in the same way that tax-free childcare did. The key difference was it was only certain employers that offered them. They're now closed for new claimants, but some people are already getting them. There's a childcare element of working tax credit. So tax credits, again, are being phased out and replaced by universal credits, but there are some people that are still on the tax credit system, and you can get very similar support through the tax credit system as you get through universal credit. So that's worth knowing about. Care to Learn is for young parents, so parents under 20, and that can pay for childcare while studying. And it's really generally, so it pays all childcare costs while studying. So that's a good support to know about as well. And there are various other bits of funding that help support pay costs of childcare whilst you're a student, whilst you're studying and learning. I'm not going to put all of those up there because they all have different eligibility and criteria. The thing that I would say again and again and again that is to get advice, because it's always helpful to speak to an expert about exactly what might be best for you. I'm going to come to a link at the end, but every local council has a family information service, and they'll be able to give you information about the right financial support for you, but also give you a bit of information about what childcare options there are for you in your local area. So they'll know about where the nurseries are, where the childminders are. I talked already about finding out about how some of them offer the funded childcare offers. They can tell you how they're offered at different places, and you can get all of that information. They are a wealth of knowledge. I'm going to go through a couple of questions that might come up about this. These are some of the most common questions that we get asked about childcare support. So, can you claim more than one of these types of support at once? The basic answer is yes, absolutely, you can. The only ones that you can't claim at the same time are tax-free childcare and universal credit or tax credits. Those ones you have to choose between tax-free childcare and universal credit. And it's really important that if you're getting universal credit already, that you don't make an application for tax-free childcare, because it will stop your universal credit claim. The two systems, like magic behind the scenes, they talk to each other. And if they pick up that that an application's been made for tax-free childcare, it assumes that you want that rather than universal credit, so it can stop your claim. So only one of those two. Normally, if you're eligible for universal credit, you'll probably be better claiming that, but that's not the case for everyone. So do, again, get some advice, check which one is best for you. Will claiming support for childcare costs affect my benefits? Absolutely not. These ones are all separate from the main benefit system. Even universal credit, which is obviously part of the benefit system, it's an additional amount that you get, and it doesn't change any of your other entitlements. It won't mean that you get less for your housing costs or less for your living costs. You can have confidence that if you claim support for help with your childcare costs, it doesn't affect your universal credit. And around the support with universal credit and tax-free childcare, I said already that they're for older children as well. So you can use that for after-school clubs, breakfast clubs, holiday clubs. So the type of childcare that you use when your children are older, just as long as it's Ofsted registered. So you to check that you're using childcare that is registered with Ofsted, and then you'll be able to use those financial supports as well. And the final thing to say, I've said already, is make sure that you check that it is quite complicated, the different types of support you can get with childcare. So make sure that you check what you're entitled to. So your family information service is a good first port of call. I've got a link on this slide where you can click on to find out. So you can type in your postcode and find the contact details for your local family information service. And there's also is linked to from our website, our homepage. So Coram Family and Childcare. There's a childcare finder. You can click on that and do your postcode search from that. The government also have a very good website called Childcare Choices, which goes through a lot of this information in a nice, easily understandable way. It doesn't have as much information on universal credit. So just to be aware of that, that's the thing that it doesn't, if you think that that one might be right for you, also get some other help on that as well. I hope that's been helpful. Don't worry if it feels like a lot of information. It is quite a lot of information. We do have all of this information on our website, which is Coram Family and Childcare. If you just Google that, you can find all this information there. And the best of luck.